Our first vocabulary word is grumbling. Grumbling is a sound you can make, or it could be something you do when you're not happy with something. If you make a grumbling sound, you're probably more than likely complaining about something. You're saying you don't like it. For example, yesterday, we were all set yesterday to go out to the playground, and you guys were gonna get to play on the swings, play on the playground equipment, but instead it was raining. And so you guys didn't get to go outside. And one of the things that people were like, oh man, it's still raining. Just like today, it's too wet for us to go outside. There were puddles under the swings. And most of you are probably not going to be very happy about the fact that we don't get to go outside today. And you may do some grumbling or complaining and saying, oh man, because it makes you unhappy. Grumbling is something you do when you're unhappy with something or you don't like the way something is. It means you just don't like it. You're going to grumble. You're going to gripe. You're going to complain. That's what grumbling means. Think of something that makes you grumble. Maybe it's when I tell you have extra homework. Maybe it's when I tell you you're not getting to go outside for recess. Think of something that happens at school that makes you grumble and complain, and draw a picture of that now. The next vocabulary word is bitterly. Bitterly means that it is very, very cold. In our story, we've been reading about cold places, and one of the things that we read about in these cold places is igloos. We talked about how people in cold places have to build a shelter because it's so cold, and one of the shelters that we saw them build was an igloo, which is made out of snow and ice. Think about it. If you lived in a place where it was bitterly cold, you might build an igloo that you could crawl up inside and go in when it's to get out of the wind and the snow. Bitterly means it is very, very cold. Places that are bitterly cold have things that shelter that you stay in, like an igloo, or has special house that keeps it very, very warm. Think of a time you've been bitterly cold, or it's been bitterly cold outside. How has your mom dressed you? Did she put on 5 jackets? You probably weren't wearing shorts, I would say. So think of a time that it's been bitterly cold and how your mom has dressed you. Draw a picture of how your mom dressed you on that bitterly cold day. Draw a picture of that now. The next vocabulary word is chided. Chided is what happens when someone gets onto you. If you are doing something that you're not supposed to do and Miss Raina gets onto you and corrects your behavior, she's chiding you. One of the things that I sometimes chide you on is in the morning when we first come in to school and the clock is supposed to be set straight at 8 o'clock. Sometimes that's when I have you guys all walking in. Sometimes somebody will come straggling in late. And that's when Miss Raina has to chide them. Why did you go to the cafeteria late? Did your parents drop you off? Did you go to the playground and then go back to the cafeteria? Were you playing around? Miss Raina gets onto you. I'm just like, where have you been? Why are you late? That is chiding. If I'm getting onto you for being late, I'm chiding you. I'm telling you that you need to get your stuff together and take care of your business. That is what it means when you are chided. Think of something that I have chided you for recently. Maybe it was talking when I was talking. Maybe it was not being quiet in the hallway. If I've got on to you and I've just said, hey, you know better than that, don't do that again, that's me chiding you. Draw a picture of a time you have had me chide you for something that you weren't supposed to be doing. The next vocabulary word is amusement. Amusement means fun. What do you do for fun? You guys do things for amusement all the time. Some of you play video games at home. Some of you may have a friend come over to your house, and maybe the two of you, you and your friend, maybe one of you brings your baseball glove, and you guys play baseball. One of you will be on one side, one of you may be on the other. That's really a big baseball, sorry. But one of you may have the baseball on the other side, and you may be throwing it back and forth, because you're playing together. You play baseball like that for amusement because you want to do something that's fun. Amusement means it's fun. If you're doing something for amusement, you're happy. Draw a picture of something you do with your friends for amusement now. Okay, the next word is realized. If you realize something, you just noticed it, or you just figured it out. When you realize something, that's when you're like, oh, I just noticed that, or oh no, I just figured out that I did this. The other day, one of the students in Mrs. Wise's class was coming down the hallway, and he had his bag on his shoulder, and as he's walking in the door, he stopped and he went, oh! And he just froze, and I was like, what's wrong? And he goes, I just realized that I forgot my homework. He was just like, oh no, because when he just realized it, he just figured it out, or just noticed that he didn't put his homework back in his bag. He knew he was probably going to get either in trouble, he might get a negative, or he might have to completely redo his homework. How many of you have ever had to redo your homework here because you didn't bring it in? I probably should start making you do it more often. If you are walking in the door and you go to get your folder out and you realize that you don't have your homework, you probably have a little panic fit, don't you? You think, oh no, I'm going to get a negative. And you think, oh, I might have to redo it. When you realize something, that's when you just notice it. Most of the time for you guys, you just realize that you forgot your homework when you're unpacking your folder in the mornings. Draw a picture of yourself realizing that you forgot your homework. I bet your face is going to look like this because you're like, oh no. Draw a picture of that now. Last one. The last vocabulary word is a dwelling. A dwelling is a place or a building that a person lives in. In our story, we read about houses and places that have 4 seasons. They have windows, and they might have a chimney so that in the winter they have a fireplace. We learned about places like igloos in those cold places where they need the shelter. We also learned about houses that were built where there's lots of water and how they're built up on poles or stilts so that they have no water in them. So a dwelling is a type of house. These dwellings like this have stairs that go up in them, and then they're up on stilts so that they don't get water in them. Then these dwellings like this igloo are made to keep you warm in a really cold place. And then like this is a dwelling, a house. You live in a dwelling probably more like this one. Or you might live in a trailer house or a double wide, or you might live in a log cabin. But you're going to live in a house that's more made for a place like with 4 seasons. All right? Draw a picture of the dwelling that you live in now.